Welcome back to the Culture of Currency, where we have another weekly Wall Street Journal report where we're going to go into the markets and give you a macro scale of what the markets did and what, of course, our gold and silver has done, and possibly even copper. So that being said, let's go ahead and dive on in. As you know, it was a pretty pretty hectic week overall with all the movement happening within Doge and all of the cabinet positions. We saw a couple of big names that were confirmed, such as Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. So not telling you if you should like that or hate that, I'm just telling you because news is news. We should be able to basically bring that to you and you decide how you should synthesize it. But this is the Wall Street Journal for the weekend, February 15th through 16th. Hope you had a great Valentine's Day, by the way. But this is the page we care about, the exchange page. Why? Well, because this has all of the market stuff. When we think about the Wall Street Journal, this is where we really pay attention. So, as you can see right here, this is one of the big names of contention right now, Elon Musk and what he's doing with the Department of Government Efficiency. This is just an article about the battle he's having with an old-time friend that has turned sour, Sam Altman. Not that I'm going to read that, but just something to think about. We're going to go ahead and get into the market report. All right, so here we are at the market report, the market digest, as it says. But before we get there, remember that this week we saw movement for this right here, the 1 cent. As many of us call it the penny. This is a 1 ounce version. It's not the real thing. But we saw that this was not going to be a thing anymore. Discontinued because it cost 3.5 cents to make a 1 cent coin. That's not necessarily breaking news, but it does make me wonder if 3 times the value caused this to go under. The nickel is currently 13.5-ish cents to make. So if that rises to 15 cents to make, do we no longer have the nickel? And at what point do we stop minting coins altogether? Or at what point is the dollar going to be too much to make and not make sense anymore, and we keep moving denominations or being pushed to digital currency? The only remedy I can think of is to make a penny at least a higher portion of copper, have our coinage backed by silver or gold, at least in a relatively sensical way. So maybe a quarter is 10% silver. And then Grisham's Law pushes all of the bad stuff out of the market. The government takes it. We then have a better currency system that is inflation, I guess, mitigation reduced, so that the likelihood of inflation being an issue goes down dramatically because we could be, backed by a asset such as gold or silver. But that's, there's a lot of things that have to be true for that to be possible. Not saying that is going to happen. Neither here nor there. I have already gone on a rant. I apologize for that. All right, so I have highlighted with a pink marker so it's easier to see, because when we have various shades of gray and black as our print, it makes things really hard for you, the viewer, so I thought I would help you out. This is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is probably my favorite of all of the indexes to track. And as you see, we're sitting at 44,564 at close. Here is a macro look. As you see, December through February, we have a very slow, methodical rise there. And my pink marker, all I did was try to freehand the faint gray one so that you at home could see that better. But it is still trending upwards. It's not dramatic, but it's definitely moving vertically up. This is the dramatic one. We have the S&P 500, which, if you don't know, the Standard & Poor's Index, 500 biggest companies, and we have a bit more of a rise happening in that. A little bit more flat with a bit of a bump, and that bump coming at the end of January and early February. I don't know exactly, well, I do, but obviously there was something that happened there around January 20th that caused the markets to respond. Here we have what was already a rise, and it seems right here to plateau and then shoot off, and that would have been late December, early January for that Q1. which is interesting because normally we kind of see a Q1 like this, but here we are. So that's good news as we see the economy moving up. And this one, the composite index, look at the rate on this. A much higher rate. In fact, if we compare all three, it kind of grows horizontally the more right we go. Very interesting there. All right, so now my favorite part, tracking the markets, the winners and losers. Let's go ahead and zoom in here so that we have the best opportunity to bring this news to you. So this is this week's winners and losers. We're going to start up at top. Natural gas has climbed for 2 weeks in a row, 12%. We saw it dip right there at the beginning of January vastly. So it is coming back up. Our information right here is next. Sorry, S&P Information Technology sitting at 3%. That's very good news. Wheat. I have seen wheat rise and rise and rise and rise and rise, and that might not be a good thing because that might mean that your bread at the store costs more. But we also know wheat goes into low-grade chicken feed, and with all of the problems happening with the poultry production, I don't know if that's part of that or not, but that's just something to think about. We have our transportation average, Dow Jones, 2.84 on the rise. The NASDAQ Composite, 2.58, of course. We keep going down. We've got our materials. This one's very interesting because materials are going to be things like concrete and timber, things that we were scared we might have a hindrance on with the tariff negotiations with Canada, but that seems to be still at almost 2% on the positive. Very awesome. Here we are, our friends, the copper. This right here was poured by Broke Stacker. Love it, but he pours copper. And we have copper, where'd it go? There it is. Once again on the rise, 1.64. Copper has had a couple of good weeks up here. Very interesting to see. Next, we are going to be looking at our best friend here, silver. Silver still going strong, 1.44. As we saw, silver is still floating above $30. Last I checked, it was around 32. I am somebody who loves to buy silver, so I would love to see it go back down to $18 like it was, 5-ish years ago. But, beggars can't be choosers. I get it. But yeah, still doing well there. Our energy, 1.6 in the positive. And looky there, gold still positive. Gold has beaten a lot of the indexes since January, which is a cool thing to see. In fact, here's the Dow Jones Industrial just right under it, 0.55. So they're coupled pretty close next to each other. Let's see if we have any losers worth talking about this week as we go to the negative side of things. I am not seeing anything worth talking about there. I mean, the dollar right there is, at almost a percentile low. But other than that, that's kind of what I see. So that is another market report looking at your metals in conjunction with other factors such as the indexes, the Dow Jones, the S&P. Looks like silver and copper were on the rise, and gold was at least on the positive side of things. So it's good to see that metals are doing their thing. But yeah, hope you enjoyed, and I hope, as always, you remember to stay classy and current with the culture of currency.